Oh my goodness, you're sitting here again in teacher orientation wondering, where did the summer go? I'm back. I'm going to start this all over again in 2026. My name is Mike Dermanuel Jr., and I'll be with you for the next few minutes conducting a little employee safety orientation. You've gotten used to these presentations over the years if you've been around for a while, and you know we cover high-level advice here on how to avoid getting hurt at work. So let's jump in. As we get started, let's take a quick review of the curriculum for today. First of all, we're going to talk about why we're here, and then also today's risk environment, how safety does begin in the mind, preventing trips, falls, and back injuries, the three most common, high-risk staff activities that we have to avoid. When an injury occurs, what do? Building your safety plan for the year, and then resources available to help your ministry. Why we're here today actually is a pretty simple question. We care about the safety of our employees, our students, and each other. The information that we cover today will help with all of that. Learning about safety is both important and required by California law. Good stewardship of what God has given us means controlling our insurance costs, and workplace accidents raise our costs, sometimes for years. So we have to practice good stewardship by understanding how to avoid injuries. So let's take a few minutes to get into the details, learn and refresh safe practices in our ministry. So as we're sitting back and learning about how to be safe in the workplace, let's talk about the risk environment that we're in California. Across the board, church and school budgets are tight. Financial pressure is real. I hear about it every day in my conversations with ministry leaders. The workers' compensation market is hardening, and in the business, that means premiums are rising. Insurance companies are starting to lose money. We're entering one of those cycles again that's not exactly the best condition for our ministries to operate in. Luck is not a strategy. Proactive education and effort is. You have to educate yourself. We have to help with that process. That generally leads to a good safety record in ministries that we work with. Hire the right people, train them, enforce basic safety guidelines throughout the organization. There's no substitute for that. There's no substitute for keeping the issue of safety in front of everybody, every day, every month, every year. Injuries can be disruptive, as you know, to the person injured and the organization. Finding substitutes, finding additional work for people that are injured but need to return to work. These are all real issues that disrupt the rhythm and flow of what we're trying to accomplish. So that's the risk environment that you're operating in. Whether you think about it or not, whether you understand it or not, I think this is what you need to know about it. So why do we talk about the concept of safety beginning in the mind? Well, because it's true. Over the years, as I've looked at thousands of workplace injuries in Christian schools and churches, there's been a common thread to most of them, and that is that poor decisions were made right before the injury occurred. And why do poor decisions happen? Well, most of the time somebody's in a hurry. Not always, but most of the time. But also there are people that just don't understand their own physical limitations, or they're in denial about their age, and it's limiting factors on your physical capabilities. Fatigue and stress, time of day of week, all factor into decisions people make prior to getting hurt. Occasionally we see some anger, not often, but that does happen. Sometimes apathy, sometimes complacency. Not following safety guidelines. That's a big one. Not taking ownership of your own safety responsibilities, or lack of knowledge from poor training. All of these, as a set of conditions, we see contributing to people getting hurt right before they make that decision that causes the injury to occur. If you're going to remain injury-free in the ministry workplace, you're going to have to avoid trips and falls, because trips and falls are by far and away the most common type of injury, not just in church and schools, but in every single industry everywhere. And so there are 10 recommendations listed here for you to avoid tripping and falling while you're at work. Notice the first one, which is becoming one of the most important ones. But I'm just going to leave it at this. You can look at the screen and look at a few of the examples that you'll see on the screen next of people doing some things that are, shall we say, really interesting.
The police chief is taking on what scientists call inattention blindness. Despite the modern romance with multitasking, the reality is the human brain evolved to do only one thing at a time. To test that, researchers at Western Washington University sent this clown on a unicycle through campus, and only about a quarter of people using their phones noticed him.
Only when I got real close up and he was like coming towards me did I really see it.
This is not what you want to do when you're setting up in your classroom this fall, because this guy right here is playing with fire, okay? No tables, no bookshelves, no chairs, step ladders and ladders only. Caught him in the act. This is live footage, folks.
I'm an example of what not to do.
This extra time that I took to find this ladder really was worth it. I mean, you imagine the time that I would spend at home being injured if I had stood on that? Your belt buckle should be right in the center. You don't want to overreach to the right or to the left. Stay within the middle of the ladder. It's much safer that way. And the other thing is, if you see another item that's too far away, the right way to do this is you step down off the ladder, and then while you're on the ground, move it over to the spot where you need to be, and then climb up again and reach whatever you need to get a hold of.
I have very little patience for stupidity.
All right, if you've ever seen the Allstate commercials featuring mayhem, this is it. Why are we sitting in a dark room doing anything? Well, because from time to time, some of you walk into dark rooms and try to navigate your way across the room, and inevitably something like this happens. There's a light switch right next to the door. And guess what? Did you know you're all carrying a flashlight? Right here, flashlight. Every single phone has a flashlight. So folks, let's not commit unforced errors. Use light when you walk into a room. We have a lot going on this campus this summer, a lot of construction. And Reggie, I think they do a good job. Everywhere I've looked, they've got areas cordoned off, and that's good, right?
You know, it's excellent, but you know, this is just unexpected. You know, if you're walking along, you're not gonna, your eye isn't trained to see an elevation of about 2 inches off the ground. So just need to be aware if the cones aren't extended to cover this area, and if you have to walk through, just be aware of where you're walking.
Yeah, so what we do is we would put a couple of cones up here with a sign, okay? We don't want people to go around and walk into the street, but at least we have a little bit of warning over this plate. But by and large, they're doing everything right here. They really are. But what we have to do, if we're an employee or a guest or a student, we have to respect these lines. We can't walk over them, we have to walk around them. But overall, I think a very good job.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
Yep.
When we're doing self-inspections, we're doing safety inspections, we usually come across this type of hazard, trip and fall hazard. Also, you'll notice that it's right next to a doorway, so anybody that comes out will likely trip and fall over the cord. There should be another source found, and if not, at least put tape over it, eliminate that hazard.
Okay, it's pretty typical for us to see situations like this around a teacher workspace. It's nothing bad, but we just need to be really aware that when we have the inevitable bundle of cords around where a teacher's primarily operating, that we've got to take extra precautions. I would recommend having some kind of a strip across here so that the chance for the chair or someone's feet to be tangled up in the cord becomes a little less likely. This is the way to do things. This is in another area of the same building. So this is what we would recommend when you absolutely have to have cords from the wall in between you and your work area, right here. You know, you don't have to be a safety engineer to participate in self-inspection on your campus. Take a look at this, for example. This is the natural transition between classrooms. This stuff is put away perfectly, just fine. There's nothing to report here. But if you kind of look back over my shoulder, you can kind of get into the hallway and you can see that a couple of items have been left out. Now, these are the kind of issues you're going to want to do something about if you see them. My point is this: everybody can be participative in self-inspections on your campus. Most injuries occur in August, September, and January when things are a little bit messy coming back. So be proactive. Don't walk past anything that might cause injury to yourself or to one of your coworkers.
I don't think I can do it without holding on in these shoes.
So Amy, so this is the thing. Amy can't even get down one step in these high heels. And we got people going up and down stairs in high heels all the time carrying stuff. And so this is a great illustration of what the problem is with inappropriate footwear for what you're trying to do. Now, this is a huge problem, okay? Typically we talk about high heels, but these flip-flops, I mean, when you look at slips, trips, and falls, this is what you're really seeing day in and day out. Jim could either he's texting or checking his Instagram right now, but either way, he's probably fired. What was wrong with that? I mean, really, how stupid am I for doing that?
What is going on? What are you doing?
Do you know what was wrong with that? Now let me show you how to do that the right way. One simple change.
That's what I'm talking about!
Went from a high probability of injury to a low probability of injury. You know, we talk about holding handrails all the time. Some of you don't do that very often. Every time you go down a set of stairs, even if it's 3 steps, and you're not holding a handrail, you're putting yourself at risk. You're also putting the school at risk or the church at risk. So when you're going up and down stairs, hold handrails, don't carry too much, don't block your vision. Those are the key points for not slipping and falling while you're going up and down stairs.
Injury proofing your lower back, I guess the question is that possible? I think it is possible. If you have a prior back injury, first of all, don't lift at all. That's a great way to not hurt your lower back. But if you are, in fact, having to do this day in and day out, or even occasionally, you want to make sure you have the proper technique, and that is to lift like a toddler. Bend your knees, keep your back straight. If you bend over at the waist, all bets are off in terms of what's about to happen next. I wouldn't do it. Ask for help if you need help. Make more than one trip. Use dollies, use carts, or the maintenance team to help you with whatever you have to do. Never lift and twist in the same motion. When carrying on stairs, don't block your vision. As a matter of fact, if you're carrying on stairs, you need to have one hand free to do what? Hold the handrail. So again, back injuries are the most expensive workplace injuries. Not the most frequent, but the most expensive. So these techniques will help you avoid injuring your lower back.
Stop it. Get some help.
High-risk activities staff should avoid. Well, the first one, running, jumping, and horseplay, this is oftentimes kind of a spontaneous event without a lot of forethought. And we have seen really tough stuff from decisions to do something like this in terms of people getting hurt. Playing in student sports or coaching with full-speed demonstration should be prohibited. Snowboarding and skiing, skating, skateboarding and surfing, trampolines, rock climbing walls, and paintball. All of these have resulted in injuries in the past. I'm bringing these to your attention because if your ministry is going to allow these activities, budget for the risk, budget for the injuries that will inevitably occur. That's our philosophy. Not to take all the fun out of what you're doing. That's not the intent. You actually can do all this stuff if you want, but just know going in what the risk is. So now we've covered today's risk environment, how safety begins in the mind, how to prevent slips, trips, and falls and back injuries, high-risk activities. But probably one of the most important pieces of information that everybody needs to understand is what to do if you do get injured on the job. And I realize that several of you are well-meaning. You don't necessarily want to turn in an injury or a claim if you have an accident. But unfortunately, under the law, that's not really an option for you. The main thing to remember is that you have to report every injury to Human Resources immediately. Now, whether or not you decide to go seek medical care is a different question, but every injury needs to be reported immediately. It's really important for your ministry to have a well-communicated procedure to everybody about this and that everybody understands the process. If you are hurt and you want to have medical care, use the designated medical provider, unless it's an emergency. Then, of course, go get emergency care. Keep all of your medical appointments if you do get into a situation where you need medical care. First aid injuries are handled outside of insurance, generally speaking, so you can go to the doctor, have those taken care of. Modified duty if you're hurt and you are going to lose time, that's a must. Make sure you and the ministry can figure out a job you can do while you're hurt. It does nobody any good to be sitting at home unless you absolutely have to be sitting at home while injured. And then finally, avoid litigating your injury. I'm starting to see some increased litigation in Christian churches and schools with regard to workers' comp claims. And I think it's very disturbing, and I think, frankly, it really demonstrates a lack of understanding of a biblical process to settle disputes within the church. So avoid litigating your claim. How we handle injuries and claims has a direct impact on what claims actually cost. So let's do a great job on this, and that starts with understanding the process.
As temperatures and humidity rise, it's important to be prepared for the dangers of working in the heat. Dozens of workers die every year due to working in the heat, and thousands become ill. Most work-related heat deaths occur in the first few days of working in the heat. That's why it's important for employers to allow workers to gradually build that tolerance to the heat, whether they are new, temporary, or even seasoned worker. Heat illness can affect anyone, no matter how old you are or what shape you are in. Symptoms include headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, irritability, confusion, thirst, heavy sweating, and a body temperature greater than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. But heat illness can be prevented with 3 simple steps: water, rest, shade. Drink water every 15 minutes, even if you're not thirsty. Rest in the shade to cool down. Wear a hat and light-colored clothing. Workers can stay safe and healthy if we watch out for their health and remember 3 simple words: water, rest, and shade. Taking these precautions can mean the difference between life and death.
As we get to the end of this presentation, it's important for us to understand what building your safety plan for the year looks like. First of all, we have to commit the issue of safety to prayer. Second, hire the right people with a defined process and train them. Set safety goals and review safety. Keep your written safety program updated annually. Set limits on the activities staff may take part in, and the ministry must provide a safe workplace. That's the goal. It is biblical. Everyone complies with safety guidelines. It is biblical. Slow down. Hurrying is the surest way to get hurt. No shortcuts. Individual effort creates great results for the entire team. If we commit ourselves to this plan for the year, we can have an injury-free workplace, and that's a good thing for everybody. So as we come to a conclusion here, we've had a broad overview of what we need to be thinking about in order to have a safe workplace. Now we have a list of additional training topics that throughout the year, I think if you can schedule a few of these in, depending on the activities that you have in your ministry, it would be very helpful. And then we also have a list of resources that are available to help. And on the screen, you'll see names and contact information for people within the Hub organization that can help improve your safety program and your claims process. Thanks again for your time. Commit the issue to prayer. I know you'll all be successful, and it's great to, again, be a part of this presentation on how to have a safe workplace in churches and schools.